Welcome to Northwest Calgary, one of the most sought after quadrants in the entire city. Northwest Calgary has one of the best views as well as some of the best lifestyles that you could achieve in the entire city. Personal preference. My name's Adam Fyfe. I'm a real estate agent here in Calgary, Alberta. I have a unique opportunity where I get to see the city in a lot more detail and a different perspective than the average consumer. I found myself explaining these different factors about this quadrant to various people. So what I wanted to do is create a video series going over each individual quadrant, showcasing the pros and cons and the general layout of each area to help you make an educated decision. My goal with this video is to try and make it as valuable as possible as your first stop in making decisions. This video probably won't answer all your questions, but what I do want to do is link a lot of websites in the description below. So as I talk about these things, make sure to click those links and do your own research. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you are looking at getting into the market, you can always reach out to me directly. It is the very first link in the description. Even if you're 6 to 12 months out, do not hesitate. Reach out, introduce yourself, let me know what you're trying to accomplish, and we can make a game plan. So this video is going to be a virtual tour. So we're going to use Google Maps as our base. But in this video, we are going to talk about the Northwest Calgary. And that is actually highlighted in red here. Now in Northwest Calgary, the only street abbreviation is Northwest, obviously. But I mentioned that because Calgary North, City Center, as well as Calgary West all have Northwest street abbreviations in those quadrants as well. The city itself is actually broken up into 4 quadrants for the 4 street abbreviations, but 8 quadrants when you actually look at it in a more microscopic scale. Now, as a consumer, it doesn't really make a huge difference, but as a realtor who's trying to break down a lifestyle and figure out where you need to be or what you want to accomplish, breaking it down into these individual quadrants are usually best. So what we're going to do is use Nose Hill Park here as kind of our base point, as you can see in this map here. And I'm going to do a very fast line or kind of outline of the quadrant. So we're going to start at John Laurie here in Shaganabie Trail. We're going to go all the way up and kind of hug Hamptons. We're going to go all the way over here to 112th, all the way to Rocky Ridge. Then we're going to drop all the way down to this lovely golf course here. Now, interestingly enough, you can see that we're kind of in this area here, and the city actually owns this land and probably will develop it at some point or another. So when you go all the way up here, you can kind of see it goes up to Bow River, then all the way back down into the Stony Trail. We're going to talk about some developments here in the future. So we're going to hit Bow Trail, and then we're going to go down to Highway 1. Now we don't include Valley Ridge and Crestmont because when you can see Valley Ridge, Crestmont are technically in West Calgary, which is not this video. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way past Bowness here. We're going to hit the river. We're going to go down the river back to the highway, go all the way over to Crowchild Trail, up Crowchild Trail to the University District, through Confederation Park to 14th Street here, go up 14th Street to John Laurie, and then back up. So that technically is Northwest Calgary, the quadrant. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is kind of give you an overview of the land and some of the breakdowns that I like to bring up about Northwest Calgary is it's more or less a middle to upper class quadrant. Now, there are some fairly affordable homes, but there's also some very expensive homes in this quadrant as well, more than other quadrants in Calgary. And I believe that to be because of the river access, the amount of green space there is, some of the views that you get, as well as the proximity to the mountains. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. The river access right here. Montgomery and Bowness are basically hugging the river. Now there are some areas in Bowness and Montgomery that are in the flood zone, so you do need to make sure that you're considering that if you're looking right beside the river. But at the same time, they have very close proximity, walking distance to the river. So like downtown Bowness here as an example, a little bit more 1950s style, old school, a little bit more local than any other place that I've really witnessed in Calgary, walking distance to the river. But if you also look at Varsity Estates, Silver Springs, as well as Scenic Acres, they too are on the river ravine. And they also have some really nice views. So if you actually click here, let's just randomly click. Let's see if we can find a viewpoint. That's the Off-Leash Park. Let's go this viewpoint here. Super fast. I don't know if this is going to be any good of a photo. Not necessarily. But you can see it's like a big open vast land of the river valley. So across the way here you can see that there's obviously some hills. That's a ski hill in Calgary, and then in the middle there's Bowness and then the river. So when you go onto the Silver Springs side of things, you can see that there you get some really lovely views. You can actually see the mountains in the distance there, as well as a ski hill. So I'm not going to dive into that too deeply, but what I'm trying to get at is with this general area, the views you do get of downtown, as well as the mountains in the distance, which I believe to kind of equate to more expensive homes. Now, it's not only in Scenic Acres, Silver Springs, Varsity, but the Northwest district, or sorry, quadrant itself is actually on a hill. So when you start at the bridge here of the Stony Trail or the Ring Road, or if you actually go all the way to the University District on Crowchild Trail, you go up Crowchild or you go up Stony Trail, you're actually going up a pretty gnarly hill. Not something that I want to bike or run personally, but as you go up here to this area, you actually get some really awesome views. Hawkwood, Arbor Lake, Royal Oak, Rocky Ridge, Tuscany, all of these areas have really awesome views of downtown as well as the mountains. And I do bring that up to different people that are looking for real estate. And typically when you get the views of the downtown and you get the views of the mountains, the homes are more expensive. People are naturally going to spend a premium price on homes that have mountain views or downtown views or views of the river, yada, yada, yada. So with that being said, homes are more expensive. I do actually really like how the Northwest is broken down. You've got the Ring Road here and Crowchild Trail, which is kind of your two main arteries, but you also have a lot of little arteries. So you've got Country Hill Boulevard, which basically runs parallel through the entire Northwest and North quadrants, going right into the Northeast. Very large street. You've got Nose Hill Drive here, which is connecting the Ring Road all the way up here. Then you've got Sarcee Trail, connects the Ring Road all the way down to the Crowchild Trail, Shaganapie as well. Then you've got Jean Laurie, which basically runs parallel to Shaganapie. And then you've got Highway 1, which is actually the main highway for Canada, if you would. So with that being said, one of the things I do want to touch on is streets versus avenues. Now, if we go in here and we just zoom in real quick, you can see that there is boulevards, a little bit of the older communities are better to show this, but you've got drives, streets, crescents. Oh, wow, this is a brutal example. But if you zoom in here, 40th Avenue, finally. You see 40th Avenue is a east and west facing avenue. So basically all avenues in Calgary face the mountains or Saskatchewan, or Ontario for that matter. And anything that has a street on it is actually facing north-south. So you've got the Edmonton or the United States. There are a lot of avenues and streets, mainly in city center. And when you zoom in here, I should have zoomed in there way faster rather than looking at boulevards. But that is a very important piece to know. So when you're looking at avenues or you see something on an avenue, it's more east-west. If you're looking at street, it's more north-south. So with that being said, that's kind of it for the arteries per se. Let's kind of touch on the amenities. Now, a lot of people want to know what are the amenities in this quadrant. You've got Market Mall here. You've got Northland Village right here. We zoom out here. We've got Crowfoot Crossing right here, and then the Royal Oak Shopping Center as well. All four of these are fairly major amenities, all having grocery stores, retail centers, outlet malls, stuff like that. You've also got the Costco, Home Depot, Canadian Tire up in this area here. Technically, this is North Calgary, not Northwest, but it does service a big portion of Northwest Calgary because it's one of the only Costco's in this area. So we zoom in here, it's Costco right there. So with that being said, I would say that Northwest Calgary has some pretty good amenities that can facilitate a lot of your needs in this area. So with that being said, let's touch on public transit. Now, public transit in the Northwest is also very good. And the main reason for that is because of the C train. Now, you see this Crowchild Trail going up on a 45-degree angle here. There's actually a C train that goes right up the middle of it. So you see this blue station here. We go up a little bit more here. Oh, sorry, I'm missing it. You got a blue dot here for the Dalhousie station. We go up here. You've got your Crowfoot Crossing station right here. It's not the blue, it's this. And then you've got your Tuscany station as well. So you've got quite a few stations going uphill towards Tuscany and then coming downhill towards the city. Coming downhill is actually quite nice because you get some pretty good views of downtown. If you actually look at the street, it's basically directly facing the downtown core. So when you're coming down the C train, it is quite nice. What I have done, and kind of the first link to this video, is the LRT stations and systems maps. This is a very good base point for you to understand what's going on with transit. So you have all sorts of different PDF files that you could download here. You've got the bus route map as well as a C train map for you to browse and get a kind of well-versed win. Another really good one to know is if busing is important to you, to look at this transit55.ca. This is a very nice, interactive, live updating map showcasing you various things going on with the transit. So you can see that this one here, you can click it, you can see the route, you can see that it's on time. It did snow today, so there's a lot of things that are delayed by 20 minutes. I mean, you can see this little route here. And so you can kind of click your bus route, your train route, different stuff, and figure out what's going on in that area. Overall, public transit is pretty decent in the Northwest. With that being said, not everyone is looking for public transit, but they're more or less looking for the traffic. Traffic in Northwest Calgary, in my personal subjective view, is not as bad as some quadrants in the area. Yes, there are some spots, but they're not that bad compared to some areas. Some of the biggest spots, in my opinion, are Montgomery here. There are a few traffic lights. It is a main artery in Canada, let alone the Northwest, that does get backed up during rush hour because there's quite a bit of traffic lights there. You do see some congestion kind of in the University District, mainly near the Banff Trail where it slows down. You've got a couple different lights there that really slows down a lot of traffic, which causes a lot of congestion. Oddly enough, I noticed quite a bit of congestion in this area, especially during rush hour traffic. If I have Royal Oak viewings or Rocky Ridge viewings, I do find myself getting caught up in the traffic there. And then where else? A little bit of congestion in this random spot here for a lot of people who live in Bowness and they want to go up. A lot of congestion in this area only because of construction. That should be clearing up pretty soon. And then everywhere else is pretty decent in the Northwest quadrant. You obviously have some pretty major intersections that do get backed up a little bit here and there, but they are quite wide roads. So for the most part, they flow pretty good. Now, that's it for the public transit as well as the traffic. So moving along, people want to know what's going on with their schools, right? They moved to a community, they've got children, they want to know what's going on. Schools are fairly subjective, right? I can't tell you what's a good school or a bad school just on one off the cusp comment. But what I can do is I've linked the Calgary Board of Education interactive map for public schools. So you can actually zoom in here, look at the legend at the bottom. You can actually click on these different schools and find out different information about those schools. I've also included Catholic schools, which are right here, same interactive type map, as well as private schools in Calgary as well. There's not that many, but they do exist. So if you are looking for schools and that's important to you, then make sure to click on those links provided below. Now, with that being said, I just want to touch on some future developments and then we're going to talk about the home prices. Future developments in Northwest Calgary are quite exciting. There's a few different projects that actually do get me pretty excited to be in Northwest. One of them being the University District. Personally, I think it's a little bit overdue. The University District is a very exciting district to be a part of. This right here is actually already completed, so I'll just zoom out again just so you can see where I zoomed in. So you go all the way in here. For some reason, it is not completed on the satellite, but if you actually click on this website here, you can see this lovely green space. This is a ice rink in the wintertime and as well as a big open lot of grass in the summertime. They have a lot of brand new amenities there. There's a lot of restaurants, bars, different activities going on in the University District. If you're looking for an investment property and you're okay with renting out to students, this is a pretty nice area to be in. Now, it's not the cheapest by any means, but there is a lot of money being dumped in this area and it is quite exciting. With that being said, in the Northwest, I will go west and I'll actually look at this Greenwich. Now, I mentioned briefly that Greenwich is also a very exciting development. You can see some roads have been installed here on the map, but there has been no changes to the satellite view. Greenwich is a brand new community with brand new houses being built. If you go on this website here, you can see a little bit of what they are writing about, as well as a small map showcasing some of the different developments going on in this area. So you can see you got some, looks like townhouses in this area. You got some some commercial, and then you've also got some residential over here. If we overlay it on the map, the Northwest Calgary Farmers Market is complete, and they actually do have quite a few buildings here complete as well, which is really awesome. If you haven't been to the Northwest Farmers Market, highly recommend it. Really cool place. A little bit expensive, but good local foods and just a cool experience all in all. So this is definitely a very exciting development to be a part of in Northwest. Now, Trinity Hills, technically, it is West Calgary, but it is also a very exciting place to be. Technically, this place is called Medicine Hat, but it is the Trinity Hills development. There are a couple of grocery stores, a lot of retail centers, a lot of condos being built in this specific area. It's quite close to the ski hill, a little bit close to the highway, but quite a nice area to say the least. Now, those are my top three developments kind of in the Northwest area. So when we talk about home prices, this is kind of where people want to maybe find out the most information. Northwest Calgary has a massive amount of options. When you get a little bit closer to city center, bigger lots, bigger homes, a little bit older, built in like the 50s to the 70s, lots of big trees, topography, really, really nice areas. Brentwood, Dalhousie, Varsity, awesome areas to be within. Charleswood, awesome areas to be in. They're just a little bit more expensive. When you start to go up to like the Edgemont, Enwood, Hawkwood and Edgemont areas, massive ravines here, Hamptons, I would say that they're mid 80s to late 90s developments. A lot of massive houses here, lots of large 2-story bi-levels, large trees, really wide lots. Again, a little bit more expensive. You're probably looking at your $650 to $750 price range in these areas. You got your Citadel and your Arbor Lake. Arbor Lake is quite a nice community. It's the only Northwest community with a lake on it. So if you're looking at being a little bit closer to a community-driven area, Arbor Lake is a nice area to be a part of, especially in the summertime if you're looking at getting your kids involved with more activities. We got the Scenic Acres Silver Springs. You're probably looking at late 80s to like early 2000s. A lot of the homes do look fairly similar. Tuscany's quite new. You get late 90s all the way up to like 2010s. Rocky Ridge, Royal Oak is definitely your upper echelon as well. You have quite a bit of newer homes that are a little bit more expensive. You are quite high up. So some of these parks actually up in Royal Oak, Rocky Ridge have some really nice views of downtown and the mountains. So that's kind of a quick breakdown. Bowness, obviously, and Montgomery, I guess. They're still technically in the Northwest. Bowness is a older community, lots of gentrification, lots of house flips, large lots, older bungalows built in like maybe the late 40s all the way up to like the 60s, and then a lot of new investment flips. And Montgomery has basically already gone through its gentrification. There's a lot of half duplexes, semi-detaches, townhouses in this area as well. A little bit more expensive compared to other neighborhoods, but very good access to downtown considering Parkdale Drive and whatnot. So that is a very fast overview of what you could get in those areas. Now, interestingly enough, if people are looking at figuring out what developments are going on in their areas, I've also linked the development map for Calgary. This is a pretty interesting interactive map showcasing building permits across the city. This is a public domain website. So if you want to know, I can't use the magic mouse. If you want to know what's going on with your neighbors, or you want to know what's going on with certain things going on in the city, all you have to do is you just scroll here. You can see some lots have open permits with the city. All you have to do is click on that and you can find some basic information about what is going on in that area. So if you want to kind of avoid maybe some major developments, or you want to know what's going on in the area before you invest in, this map is very, very convenient. Now, with that being said, I'm also going to show this heat map. Now, this heat map is more or less for real estate agents, but we can share this with our clients if they are interested. Now, this is kind of cool because it showcases the more red it is, the more expensive, and then the more yellow it is, the least expensive. So what I've done is the average sold price between 100,000 and 1.2 from May to September. And you can see here, this is average looking at all aspects of real estate in that community. So all the way from apartments to $1 million properties. You can see that Hamptons actually has the most, with the average sale price at $840,000, where if you look at places like Charleswood, you can see it drops down. Brentwood drops down to 528, mainly because there's a lot of apartments there. Same thing with Varsity. You go all the way up to Tuscany and Rocky Ridge, Royal Oak, stuff like that. So if you are curious about those specific price points, you can utilize this map. Now, what I've also done is I've actually overlaid this. Now, if you follow my channel at all, you know that every single month I do market reports and I touch on these exact things. So what I want to do is very quickly go over these price points. You can see that the detached homes in Northwest is $725,000, which is actually above the average single family price in all of Calgary. So it's a little bit more expensive than the average, but when you look at places like West as well as City Center, they are more expensive than Northwest. When we go down to the apartments, you can see it's $228. It's less than the city average, and you can see places like City Center, West, as well as Southeast is actually more expensive than Northwest. A lot of the apartments in Northwest are a little bit older, developed maybe in the 60s to 90s, whereas Southeast is a little bit newer, boasting a little bit more of an expensive price, as well as a semi-detached, a little bit of an older era compared to other quadrants. It's not the most expensive, but it's still $592, as well as townhouses $407, just below the city average of $419. So that's it. I noticed that this video is already quite long. I really hope that you got some value from this video. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I appreciate those who stuck it through. If you have any other questions, do not hesitate to reach out. The link's in the description. Book a call with me. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.